Hi, guys. Welcome to episode 2 of With All Her Mind. And in case you've forgotten, I am Justice Inlo Keel. I'm a wife, a mother, an author. And yes, if you came here because you are fans of Johnny and Elizabeth, I am also their daughter. And once again, the views that I'm expressing may or may not reflect the views of my parents, and that's one of the things that I really respect and love about them is they're not afraid of starting a conversation about something. So, today's episode is going to be all about why we should honor Mary, the mother of Jesus, even if we're not Catholic. But before we get into that, I'm going to share with you guys what I am reading right now. Somehow, I made it through all of my school years and never read Anne of Green Gables, okay? Which feels like that should be criminal. And if you've never read it, you might not understand why you should read it. It is just phenomenal. I think I'm halfway through with Anne of Avonlea, which I believe is the second in the series. But if you watched last week's episode, we talked about something called living ideas. And in case you missed it, you should go back. But living ideas are basically ideas that contain beauty, truth, and goodness, the three transcendentals. And so, even if they're not explicitly Christian, they end up pointing the person who consumes them, whether it's watched, listened to, or read, they end up pointing you back to the Lord ultimately, even if it's not explicitly so. Anna Green Gables is definitely one of those. I mean, it is full of so many virtuous lessons. Even me as a mother in my 30s now, there is so much that I have to learn from the stories of this young woman. And it's just, okay. I grew up on the movies, so that's probably why I didn't read the books because I was watching the movies. The movies are great, but the book, people always say this, but it's true. The books are so much better. There is so much more information. And if you haven't seen the movies yet, read the book first because otherwise you're going to come into it with the wrong context. You should come into the movies with the context of the book, not the book with the context of the movies. From personal experience, let me just tell you that. Again, I'm listening to this on Audible. I don't have a lot of time to sit around and read these days because I have a toddler. But I do read sometimes. But if I'm reading, I'm probably not reading a novel. But I love to be listening to a novel, and it just makes work around the house so much nicer. And I also find that I like that Kalev is growing up. Kalev is my son. I should specify that. I also love that my son is growing up seeing his mom prioritize her intellectual pursuits, but also enjoyable ones at that. So, Anne of Green Gables is one that I am loving right now, and I highly recommend. So, back to today's topic why we should honor Mary, even if we're not Catholic. Okay, some people, I know it, I've heard the whisperings. It's not really that many people, but we're like, why are you so obsessed with Mary Justice? Like, are you trying to become Catholic? What's going on? Um, I put Mary on the cover of my book. So, yeah, I love Mary. And I think that you should love Mary too. And you don't have to be Catholic to love Mary, the mother of God, the mother of Jesus. And if me saying Mary, the mother of God triggered you, hold on, we're going to address that. So don't be worried. It probably would have triggered me too. But yeah, I think what's really interesting in today's day and age is that if I sat here with like I don't know, I have a Mary necklace on. If I had a Kim Kardashian necklace on, probably not that many people would bat an eye, even Christians. Or like a Taylor Swift. I'm like, who even I don't know. What celebrities are like having their name on jewelry or a brand that I was a fan of. Most people, even most Christians, wouldn't bat an eye at it. They just would be like, okay, cool, she's into that. As soon as it's Mary and you're not Catholic, Christians are like, "Oh, so you're trying to worship Mary now?" And I just think we have to get some things in order. Okay, guys, we got to get some things in order, some priorities in order. There is nothing wrong with being a fan of and loving Mary. We have so many women in this world that we are fans of, and we express that we love them and that we admire them and that we're thankful for their influence in our lives. Like think about your mother, for example, if you have a good relationship with her. My mom is phenomenal. And I have no problem telling people how great she is. I have a picture of my mom, many pictures of my mom around, and nobody thinks it's weird because my mom is a great woman and someone that I aspire to be like. But the woman who had to be very, very, very special to be chosen by God to carry his son, who is also God, we're not allowed to be into her or to be like, yeah, I love her. I really admire her. I want to be more like her. I have a picture of her because she, it inspires me. It reminds me, oh, I want to be more like her. Guys, this is what we got to talk about today because we should not be afraid to be fans of Mary, even as Protestants, okay? So we tend to get very uncomfortable when we start talking about Mary as Protestants. And I understand that there are people who've come out of Catholicism into the Protestant world. And so for them, it is triggering because it's like confusing. Like, what am I supposed to believe about this? And I just want to say that I understand that makes sense where you're coming from. Hopefully, what we talk about today will help you through that process. I think one of the things that is important to me is what are we losing by not talking about Mary as Protestants? What do we lose? Because, we talk about Deborah and we talk about Esther and we talk about these other women who did amazing things, but they pale in comparison to what Mary did. She was pregnant with, gave birth to, and parented Jesus. That's like the coolest thing I can think of in the entire world that a woman could do, okay? There's nothing that tops that. And so we lose this incredible example. We lose an opportunity to imitate a godly woman by not talking about Mary. And we also lose some of the humanity of Jesus, okay? I know that's a hot take, but I think it's true. We lose some of the humanity of Jesus by forgetting that he not only had a mother, he still has his mother. I'm pretty certain that she is with him in paradise, in heaven, and that he loves her. How could he not love her? Any of you who have sons know that your sons love you. It's just such a special relationship. There is no way that Jesus does not just absolutely love and adore his mother. And so if Jesus does, it's okay that we do as well. It's okay for us to look to her with admiration and love and say, I want to be more like her. Okay. And we're going to go into the reasons, the specific reasons why, again, in just a minute. I think it's even possible that caring for Mary can help us love Jesus more. The reason being that we can see him through different eyes. We can see him as her son. We can see the suffering through the eyes of a mother. Like it changes, it gives us yet another angle to look at our beautiful Jesus through her eyes. And so that's an angle that can help us grow in our love for him. So let's get into some scripture. Luke 1:48. Mary says, "Behold, from now on all generations will call me blessed." Which she is saying in humility. She is saying, this is incredible. Like, you've chosen me to carry the Savior of the universe. This is a very blessed role. She's recognizing it's a blessed calling on her. And it's okay that we recognize that it's a blessed calling. That's in scripture. There is a historical traditional church view that Mary is the new Eve. So, original Eve, the first woman, she brought sin into the world through her disobedience. So God told Adam and Eve, don't eat the tree of the knowledge of good and evil. And Eve, of course, goes and long story short, eats the fruit of the tree. And so through her, sin comes into the world, through her disobedience, through her lack of trust in God, but through her inability to trust God to be who he says he is, to be God, to be the one who knows all things, who we can trust, who we can have as our source. That's how sin came into the world. And what's beautiful is that Eve, through her obedience, through her trust in God, through her saying, "Let it be to me according to your will, Lord," then Jesus comes into the world. The solution for sin, the solution for all of humanity comes through her obedience. So there's this ultra patriarchal group of Christians, and I'm not like anti patriarchy in a general sense, but there's this group that's very specific what the patriarchy is supposed to look like. And the view is that women are less than, not just in function, but also in value before God. And they base this on the fact that through women, sin came into the world. But they missed the whole picture because also through a woman, Jesus, redemption came through the world. And I just think of how beautiful and intentional the Lord is with that, that He did not allow women and womanhood to be defined by sin coming into the world, but He gave us a new Eve. He gave us a new start, and that's really really powerful. Scripture also says that Mary was full of grace. So God's grace, His presence, but also an alignment with His will. So she was a woman who was already surrendered to God. It makes sense that He's picking her. And then we see this for ourselves. We see, oh, this is why God picked her. It's not just that in the moment of being asked, she was walking in surrender of grace. It's that she was living in His grace. She was already living in His will, walking His path. She was a woman clearly that loved the Lord. So this statement is traditionally called Mary's fiat or her yes. And she says, "Behold, I am a handmaid of the Lord. Let it be to me according to your word." Stop right there. Um, yes, this should be a model for all of us as women in our walk with the Lord. That our answer to God's call, that our answer to God's will would be, "Let it be to me according to your word, God." And that's hard because sometimes His word is something very, very scary. And much like with Mary, she's unwed, she's young, and she's being told, "You're going to carry a baby." She's probably wondering, "I don't even know how that's going to happen. Okay. I don't know what that process is going to be." And then knowing what giving birth is like. And then we don't know if she knew at this point or not that someday He would also be killed, that she would have to watch Him being crucified. So it wasn't an easy thing that, we could think, "Oh, how great that, she got to carry Jesus." Yes, this was not an easy task though. There's nothing easy about it. It was a life that promised her pain, and she said yes. So, 10 points for Mary. Then in Luke 1:42 through 45, when she goes to see her cousin Elizabeth, who is pregnant with John the Baptist, Elizabeth says, "Blessed are you among women, and blessed is the fruit of your womb. And why is this granted to me that the mother of my Lord should come to me? Blessed is she who believed that there would be a fulfillment of what was spoken to her by the Lord." That's so beautiful. Okay. Also highlighting the fact that it took faith from Mary. When the Lord spoke to her, it took faith that, okay, so I'm not married, I'm going to be pregnant. I'm going to give birth to this baby apparently. So I guess I'm not going to get stoned because that was the law. Like there's so many levels, even things that I'm sure I'm unaware of that took so much faith from Mary. She's a woman of strong faith. This is such an inspiration to us as women. Later on in the Gospels, Jesus is told, "Your mother is waiting for you." And He says, "My mother and brothers are those who do the will of God." People use that to disparage Mary and say, "See, He didn't care about these familial relationships. He didn't care that much about His mom." And actually, what's being done there is really significant because He's saying, not only is she my mother, she also is the one who's done the will of my Father. So she's not just significant in that she's my mom. She's not just a random woman who happened to have me. She's one who's done the will of the Lord, which we know because we're told that she's full of grace. Full of grace, meaning walking in God's will, walking in his plan, walking in his presence. We can see that she was chosen for her obedience to the Lord, for her surrender. And so, a huge th- element of Mary's life and walk with God that we should be seeking to emulate as women. And when we see her pictures and when I see my necklace that I'm reminded of is okay, Lord, make that my heart posture. Let it be to me according to your word and help it to be well with my soul when when I know what that is, even if it's not a pleasant thing. Because often the Lord gives you a path that is not pleasant, but it can be blessed in the process when we are walking in surrender, when we're walking in his grace. One of the major hangups that I have encountered with other Protestants when I'm talking to them about Mary is the idea that she's the mother of God. Okay, that phrase right there, it rubs people the wrong way. And I understand because when I first heard it, I was like, hold up, the mother of God. There's no such thing. That sounds like some weird pagan goddess. But we have to remember a couple of things. One is that Jesus never gave up his divinity, he was always fully God and fully man. Okay, so to say that she's only the mother of Jesus and not the mother of God is to say that somehow his two natures could be separated, but they're inseparable. In fact, it's considered a long-standing heresy to say that Jesus was only spirit or only man. He was always God and man. So when we say that Mary is the mother of God, we're not saying that she's the creator of the Godhead or even the mother of the Godhead, which is the Trinity. We're saying that she's the mother of God Jesus. And something else we have to remember is that motherhood is a receptive role. So even when a woman becomes pregnant, she is not creating that child from scratch, as much as that would be cool to be able to say that I did that. It's a receptive role. We are receiving something unto ourselves. And yes, our body is helping with that process. Our body is also giving part of that. But it is a receptive role. We receive, and through that, a new life is created. But even the spirit that exists in that child doesn't originate with us, it originates with God. And so Jesus, in the same way, originates in God. And through Mary's, yes, through her receptivity, she's able to carry him and receive him into her womb. So it's a receptive role. It's not a originating role. She's not the origination of Jesus, but she is the mother of God, Jesus. She didn't originate him, but she cooperated with God's will to bring him to earth. And she's his mother. Jesus was, is, and always will be fully God. He did not give up his status of being God when he came to earth. He just veiled the full expression of that, and in fact exhibited huge amounts of self control. He veiled the full expression of his divinity and surrendered it to the will of his Father. And if you think about the just incomprehensible amounts of self control that took, especially when you talk about the crucifixion, it's just mind boggling. So he always was fully God. He had the ability, if he wanted to, during the crucifixion, to throw himself down and heal himself, and he didn't. So that's why I don't have a problem saying, yes, Mary's the mother of God, not the originator of the Godhead, but she's the mother of Jesus, God. Something else really cool to think about with Mary is that she is in heaven. She is a part of the great cloud of witnesses who are contending for us and cheering for us and watching us as we struggle in the race that God has set before us. In Hebrews 12:1 it says, "Therefore, since we are surrounded by so great a cloud of witnesses, let us also lay aside every weight and sin and run with perseverance the race that is set before us." So she's part of that. She's part of that contending for us and cheering for us. And that's really amazing. And I think it's pretty safe to assume that she also has a very special role, place in the heart of Jesus. And those who have the level of humility and surrender that she had can be trusted with special roles like that because it's not going to go to their head. It's not going to create pride. It's not the source of their identity. Their identity is in the surrender not in, oh, I'm so important because God, blah, blah, blah. And that is yet another amazing thing that we should emulate from Mary is that humility of heart in our posture and the posturing of our hearts before the Lord. It is my belief that God does not violate our free will. So that means if we want his will to be done in our lives, we have to surrender ours. And that's a difficult process. And it's a process that we have to do every single day. And Mary is an incredible example of what can come through your life, the legacy that can come through you when you decide to lay down your will and instead partake in his. And the way that I view God's will, his grace, is like a river. I don't know if this will connect with you or not, but it's like a river and it's flowing by in front of our doorstep every morning when we wake up. And the invitation is that we can hop in. We can say, I'm going to go where you're flowing. I'm going to allow you to carry me where you think I should be today. Or we can run on beside it and go on our own path. But it's always there flowing beside us, inviting us to jump in, to surrender what we think is the best, and to take up what he says is the best. And again, that's scary because we all um we all can struggle with being short-sighted. We can struggle with just a desire for happiness in the here and now and not be able to have not just eternal vision, but also vision for the rest of our lives on earth, what's going to bring ultimate fulfillment. And Mary understood that. And so, yeah, I'm going to keep wearing my Mary necklace and having my carved wooden Mary back here. You might see. Let's see. There we go. That I look at and having her on the cover of my book because she's an amazing woman. And when I see those images, much like when I see a picture of my mom or another woman of God that I admire, she inspires me and encourages me to stay steady on the course in front of me, to surrender my will to the will of God. And when I inevitably go off course, as we all do, those little things remind me, seeing these little things, wearing my little necklace, reminds me to get back on the straight and narrow of surrender to the Lord. So, what are your thoughts? What do you think about honoring Mary as non Catholic Christians? Drop your thoughts in the comment section below. And I would love to be able to answer some of your questions on the next episode. So, even if the questions are not about Mary or anything relevant to today's episode, the question could be anything. It could range from, like, what do you think about raw milk to what's your favorite movie? I don't know. It can be whatever you want. Drop your questions down below. And if you like this episode, would you let me know? Would you comment what you thought about it? Would you like this episode on whatever platform you're watching it on? Maybe share it with someone who you think it would encourage. And start that conversation with the Lord. Ask him what he thinks about Mary.